Welcome to the Transformation Literacy Conference 2022. I welcome everybody, the panelists and the attendees from all around the world in probably sometimes difficult time zones. I appreciate fully that you're here. I am Dr. Petra Kuenkel. I am the founder and executive director of the Collective Leadership Institute, and I am also a member of the Club of Rome. So from collaboration to transformation literacy, what does that mean? Does it mean that we don't need collaboration anymore? No, by no means. That's not the case. The opposite is true. We need collaboration much more than ever before. And I am starting this conference in a difficult moment. I think all of us know what is currently happening in the Ukraine. And it is even difficult for me to mention it. But for those of you who feel with the people, for those of you who have friends, acquaintances, staff members, etc., this is a very, very difficult moment. A terrible moment for the Ukraine, but actually also a very, very dark moment for humankind. And it actually tells us that we have to work on the issue of transforming dominant societies into partnership societies all around the world. That is absolutely an absolute must. So this means that we need to actually collaborate more. We need to learn much more about collaboration than before, and we need to be able to be much more strategic, with the way we work together, with the way we bring different collaboration initiatives together, with the way we collaborate between civil society and governments and private sector, because there are many more people in the world who actually love peace, and there are many more people in the world who love a future that we can all live in. This is a vision, a future that we can all live in, that actually was part of a book that was published 50 years ago in 1972. If you know the book, then you know the book under the title Limits to Growth. And it was a report to the Club of Rome that showed a pretty negative downward spiraling dynamic if we just continued with the way of resource depletion, economic growth, and population growth. And now in 2022, we are pretty much down that road. And it's a huge wake-up call to remember this book. But what is also important to understand that this book actually captured a wonderful emotional vision, a vision of a different world, a vision of a world not only in peace, but also where the development needs of everybody could be met within the planetary boundaries. So that is the big vision that lies in front of you. That is the big vision we need to work towards. But the issue is, it cannot be other people doing it. It's us. We need to do it. Everybody needs to work in that direction. So this is the topic of today's conference. We're talking about transformation literacy. And transformation literacy is the capability of many, many different actors to not only work together around one particular issue, but to look beyond the boundaries and look at how can we be much more strategic in collaborating for transformative change. So this has been the mission of the Collective Leadership Institute for quite some time. We have been founded in 2005. And since then, our mission is to equip people and give away our methodologies that we have developed on the basis of, I would say, a really wide experience that is certainly not only a European experience. It is experience around the world. And our methodologies actually are done in a way that they have integrated so much knowledge from so different cultures, and that they can also adapt it to different cultures, to different contexts. And interestingly, at the core of transformative change that really works is what we always call collaboration quality. So it means that there is a certain way of people working together that inspires people for collective action. And that doesn't mean it's not, there are no hurdles. There are definitely hurdles, but the collaboration quality is so much enhanced when people feel inspired, when they feel alive. This is an experience we all have. And we have gone the way of bringing this into our methodology in a practice approach, in a scientific approach, so that we say our ambition for the future must be what we call systems vitality. And that doesn't matter what it is, if it's regenerative agriculture or what we talk about, regenerative banking or circular economy or climate action or biodiversity regeneration or forest regeneration or social entrepreneurship. There are so many different ways to express that search for systems aliveness. So that is the topic of today's conference. And particularly for today, we concentrate on the topic of narratives. And why are narratives so important? Let me say just a little bit about why we call the 6 elements, the 6 what we call lenses or entry points into strategic transformative change, why we call them transformation enablers. We have discovered that in order to bring about really systemic large-scale change, you need to look at various different entry points and lenses, but they're not separate, they're not in isolation. They actually work together, they are belonging together, but it is helpful to look at each of those different transformation enablers separately. First, this is what we do in the conference sessions, and then go deeper into what it means. And today it's all about narratives. It's about asking the questions, what is it that enhances narratives that inspire people to take collective action? What are the stories that inspire us? What are the value systems that we can adopt? What are the future stories, the stories of possibilities that get people up in the morning and they say, yes, let's work together and let's be very systematic about how we go about transformative change. So first of all, we will have a keynote conversation with Melanie and Andrea. Welcome to both of you. I'll go to you in a minute. And we will then have Dominic taking over and looking at how, narratives can actually inspire us, and take a little bit of a deep dive into what is the role of vision development for narratives. And then we welcome guests from Bangladesh and from India and from Mongolia, and have practical examples of what this really means and what can be achieved if the narrative change, if the stories of possibilities become so inspiring that people actually work together in a different way. So I warmly welcome Melanie Gajowski and Andrea Dreifke-Pieper. Welcome to you. Melanie, let me start with you. Melanie, I know you as somebody who has been traveling the finance sector, I would say from bottom to top. And from bottom, I mean, you've started at a very young age. And with top, I mean, you have had a C-level position in the banking sector. So one could say you are a real banker. One could say money is your business. But I also know Melanie as a bridge builder. And I know Melanie as somebody who deep in her heart thinks that we need to turn back finances where they belong. We need to turn back money into something that makes sense in terms of pooling resources and then lending it to people in need. So I feel there is something going in a different direction. And Melanie, when you look at the issue of regenerative banking, and you look at today's world and think about a scale between 0 and 10, where are we today in terms of regenerative banking? 0 means nothing achieved, and 10 means, oh yes, everything, the entire banking sector is regenerative.
Thank you, first of all, for inviting me, Petra, and having the chance to weave a new story together with all of you. And brief answer, it's 9 and 1 at the same time, because it depends on who you look at. As you know, I'm a banker by heart and I love banking, and my world is the social banking field. There you could even say 10, but if you look at other parts, you would say 1, 2, or 3, depending on the bank you're looking at. And as average never works, I can't tell you 5, so it's 1 or 2 and 9.
Thank you, Melanie. Andrea, welcome. Andrea Dreifke-Pieper from the WWF. Welcome to our session. Andrea, I know you as a person who is also a bridge builder, because you have been, in your lifetime, you had very strong experience from the private sector in consultancy and in the corporate world, and yet do you move to the WWF, and so you're bridging the world between a large, worldwide known NGO and the private sector. So this is your passion, and what I admire about you is that being very diligent and very, let's say, not only passionate, but also patient with constantly adopting new strategies to influence companies towards sustainability. So Andrea, if I ask you on a scale between 0 and 10, if you look at not the WWF, but if you look at the corporate world, companies, has there been any changes in the last, let's say, 5 years on a scale between 0 and 10? Where are we in terms of companies taking a stance, and a real stance? I'm not talking about greenwashing, for sustainability.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me. And actually, I think this whole conference is quite timely, because I think we are really at a crucial point. Not only because the Club of Rome report is now 50 years ago. What would I say on this scale? I probably would say, first, a lot has been happening in the last 4 or 5 years. So it increased a lot, the interest in doing something and in really doing something meaningful. Nevertheless, I would differentiate between the willingness and what's really happening. So if I would refer to the willingness to change things, I would say 4 to 6. Really happening, I think it's rather still a 2. So I think we still have to get a lot of things done.
Thanks. So we need to get things done, and today's topic is about narratives. So if I start with Melanie, if I look at regenerative banking, how would you actually define regenerative banking?
It's quite easy. Regenerative banking would always serve the real economy. It puts human being and nature in the center, and at the same time, it provides the needed resources for a life-serving economy. Meaning, regenerative banking makes sure that economy works and feels responsible for the money flows. So stewarding the money flows in a way.
So I feel that our reality is quite different. I don't know, my opinion about banks, or let's say, I'm not saying they're not helpful. They might be extremely helpful, but there is this image of the banker, of the investment banker, who earns not only a hell of a lot of money, but who may also kind of play around with money and create a bubble in the world that is not only not sustainable, but that it's not really helping people, and that contributes to resource depletion. So are there examples that walk in the right direction? Are there banks that are examples? Are there alternative banks or sustainable banks? And what do they do differently? Because they also have to survive. They also have to earn money.
First of all, coming to the narrative and the stories we tell each other, banking, as you describe it, is more or less 30 to 40 years old, as the rules and regulations before the 70s, 80s, 90s had the commercial and private banking on the one hand, and the investment banking you described, so the casino banking, on the other hand. And they merged for the last 20, 30, 40 years. And that's, as you will hear from me, a lot of positive things, and gives me hope that we can go back to where we come from. So we do not have the longest time of walking in this kind of wrong direction. And more or less in every country, in every continent, you have the social banks, which per definition do the things different, as they are there to serve the communities. You're based in Germany. There, for example, you have the GLS Bank. Here in Switzerland, I've been in the executive board of the Alternative Bank Schweiz. You have in Canada, Sunrise Bank, you have the Breck Bank. You have everywhere around the world banks that come from the people and work for the people. And yes, they also need to make money, and they not do the normal business, meaning earning by lending or providing kind of information or also support. But they have already kind of community, meaning, for example, at our bank where I was until last year, the clients get less on their investments, so that we can give loans which have lower interest rates, which of course is different in the current times, as we have anyway low interest rates. That's a quick view into that.
So I understand that you have been also engaged in the banking, in the Alliance on Banking on Values. So am I getting this right? So it means a kind of network of banks that look at how these value systems on, let's say, on the banking that truly serves society, how this can be further advanced. Can you tell us a little bit about, what kind of impact do you see? Is there a growing membership, and does it have an influence on, let's say, the casino banks?
So the Global Alliance for Banking on Values has been founded by some of the known social banks like Triodos, or also the GLS Bank I mentioned, and they try to support each other also by looking at the needs of the various partners. For example, the bank I worked for until last year, we as we are based in Switzerland, we have enough money, but we have other local small banks like Ecobanks in Sweden. They can only give more credit and loans if they have more capital. So the so-called stronger banks support also with money, so that in other regions they can do this. But I would like also to come back to another point, as I have also worked 25 years for those you call the bad banks. So I've been at Deutsche Bank, I've been at UBS, and also in those big banks, it's not always casino. They are also doing parts in the right direction. The difference is that the social banks and the banks of the Global Alliance for Banking on Value, they put the people into the center. And these, let's call them other banks, have to put the profit into the center, which means they have to make other decisions, as they are regulated by the rules of stock exchange and what is all around that, which the social banks normally are not. They are cooperatives, or if they are AGs, they are rather based on purpose and have different rules.
So we're coming back to that, because the question, that would be interesting is to say, is this network growing? You know, are other banks also changing, or do we have to found new banks in order to work in that direction? Let me go to Andrea. Andrea, I read that the WWF had contracted a study for the Economist, the newspaper, the journal Economist intelligence unit, about, you know, what is about the private sector, the corporate world, are they moving in the right direction? And there's also the survey by the Global Commons Alliance about you know, how people view the need for transformations. If we now look at the private sector that you are collaborating with at the WWF, and tell us a little bit more how you do that. What kind of changes do you see happening or recently happening? Because you said it's timely.
Yeah, it's timely, I think, because this big word transformation is now used by a lot of different people and from a lot of different organizations, also in policy. And the big question is, what does it mean? Yeah, where are we going? You just mentioned these studies we commissioned, and I think one interesting outcome is really that there is an increasing interest and an increasing awareness all over the world. So I personally found it especially interesting because very often we believe that only consumers in Western countries are aware. That's not true. People and consumers in Africa and Latin America and Asia, all over the world, there's a very big awareness and a rising awareness that we need to do something. So there is really an interest with consumer and citizens. And I would say the same is also true for companies. I think companies all over the world know that they have to do something. The question is always what exactly can we do, and also what need to be the ambition level. And I think the problem is really, first the pathways to this, or the pathways leading into a new scenario, so the transformation pathways. And then also, of course, the ambition level is the problem, I would say. You probably know all the so-called triple bottom line, which was introduced, I think, by John Elkington in the 90s. And even he himself is now a little bit critical about this concept, saying sustainability is always about planet, people, and profit. And what we are saying sometimes in our organization, that's a little bit like a Mickey Mouse economy, because if you probably know Mickey Mouse, yeah. So the ears, it's people and planet, and the head is profit. So the face, it's the biggest one. And I think that's part of the problem, yeah. So that companies think also, if they make a sustainability concept, first comes profit and then the other issues. I personally
Can I just jump in, Andrea, and say, so do we need to change it to people, planet, and prosperity for all?
I think prosperity for all is a great thing. I think it still can also be profit. I think a company, and this goes for all organizations, they also need a solid monetary fundament, because they have to pay wages, they have to invest in innovation. But the big question is really, is it about maximizing profit, or is it to have enough money to contribute to all these things I just mentioned? And I think, yeah, so, and this is not working at the moment. Yeah.
Would you say it's not working, or would you say you see something happening?
I see something happening. I think it's really changing. I hope you can't hear this. My phone is ringing, the other phone. I think it's changing, but it's still, you can also see really in which environment is a company working. Yeah, do they have, for example, shareholders where they get a lot of pressure from to achieve a big shareholder value? Are they owned, for example, by a person who is saying, I'm here in the third generation or fourth generation, I would like my children to inherit this company, and so I probably have to do something about our future. It's very, very different, and I think it's on the move, but it's not moving fast enough, but it's moving.
And can you tell us a little bit of a story of how do you start influencing? How do you strategize? Are the companies coming to you, or are you approaching companies, or do you find of ways of putting them under pressure, you know, like maybe other NGOs are doing? Are you advocating and then they come to you, or you know, how does it work?
It's working both ways. So companies are approaching us, but we also address certain companies if we want something from them. And as you already mentioned, it's a broad range. So we are working in partnership with companies, sometimes also with a group of companies, because we would like to develop solutions with them. This also shows us that solution development is not easy. So you can always make mistakes. It's easier just to criticize. But our mission definitely is also to support them to develop these solutions. Sometimes we also have companies as allies if we are aiming for something. For example, at the moment, we are working on this global treaty for plastics, and companies are very supportive of this, which helps, of course. Sometimes it's also with other critical issues. For example, I remember I think it was a few months ago when we got also support from the private sector when we were raising our voice against deep sea mining. And then it helps if companies who are using, for example, metals, if they say, we are not going to source from deep sea mining. So it's a big range of different things we are doing with the private sector and with companies. And what we usually try is to develop methodologies so that they also can see these pathways. So that's not only about asking them, you have to do something, but also to give at least some initial thinking how certain things can be done. One example is the Science-Based Targets Initiative. When I started at WWF 10 years ago.
Can you just explain to us what this is, the Science-Based Target Initiative?
Yeah, that's an initiative which helps companies to set a 1.5 target, so to set a climate target. And when I started at WWF, nothing like this was available. So we just told the companies, you have to reduce your climate emissions and you have to stay hopefully beyond 1.5, or even better, to become positive or neutral without compensation, of course. And a company said, yeah, how can we do this? And then we said, we don't know, we just know that you have to do it, which was not the best answer. So now we have a little bit a better idea what can be done for specific sectors. We have these pathways, these frameworks, and this really helps also to motivate companies to get things started. It's just one example, but we need this kind of approach that there is at least an idea how things can get started. For example, also in the biodiversity sector, if you want companies really to get moving, to start.
So you become more and more an advisor for companies, but also looking at the different pathways from let's say, from your strengths. And Andrea, let me follow up on this, but let me jump to Melanie and say, Melanie, is there anything in the banking sector, such as the Science-Based Target Initiative, that could also put those banks under pressure that you say are the more conventional banks, that are not the alternative banks?
Yes, if you go to Europe, for example, you have the new EU taxonomy, where you will have rules and regulation that will force parts of the banking world to change the way they are doing their business, because they have to. And if you have in Europe something, you will also have things in other things. And of course, you have tons of rules and regulations how to do real and good banking. But in the end, I love rules, regulations, science-based targets and all of this, but it starts with the attitude and as you say, the narratives and stories we want to create. And to be real honest, part of the banking world, as you describe it, so the bad banks, let's call them, their main idea is how to find the gray zone besides the targets and besides the rules and regulations. So we might have a lot of good things out there, but in the end, we need to change the way to think about money. And you started in the beginning with speaking about, do we need new banks? yes and no. They will become obsolete by themselves as the banking system has new needs in these days. You have already cryptocurrencies, you have regional currencies, you have peer-to-peer lending, and all of these things will by themselves, if we agree to create a new narrative and a new story, will build the new kind of banking sector, which is based on stewardship, based on a life-serving economy. And yes, the rules and regulations will follow and help us, but they will, I fear, not do enough. You have enough things out there that support it, like B Corps or other kind of things, but it's more about the stories we speak about and the stories we create.
Melanie, that's an interesting point. So let's dream and say we're creating an alternative finance sector, and maybe that's the future of a new narrative, to say let's create communities that are different. Now we know that the taxonomy of the EU was really like developed by a lot of people and by a lot of experts, and could be really good. Just recently, when it was clear that nuclear energy and gas gets implemented, of course, we got all very, very disappointed. So what you're addressing, and that's quite interesting, because I'm also turning to Andrea to ask you the question. Melanie, what you're saying is it's the stance, it's the narrative, it's the way of what kind of future people want, also bankers or CEOs of banks want. And the other opportunity is to say, let's get to the people and create an alternative currency. I know that cryptocurrency is also not maybe necessarily sustainable. Yeah, so it's not just, we can say without a different stance, without an ethical stance, without a new narrative of how the world should work in future, without a new vision of the world, it doesn't really work. Andrea, have you also had experience of let's say, companies, to put it like this, companies where you say, all the compliance-based issues only go so far, and they tend to avoid whatever they can avoid? And do you have also the experience that things really shifted when there was a new narrative in a company?
Yes, I have this experience, and I would agree with Melanie that if it's only about tools and rules, you will always find smart people who invent something so that they kind of appear to be in the boundaries, but not really to be ambitious. I think that's usually the case. Also for example, for certification schemes, or also for climate pathways, it's really also about the people behind, and if they are really ambitious, and if they really try to change something, or if they just to keep a certain appearance to the outer world. I personally experienced one thing which I found quite impressive, because I have been with companies when they have decided to have a very ambitious climate target. And the interesting point was when they no longer discussed this climate target, when they said, we now have it, or at least imagine we have it. And then they brought all the people who were kind of involved in the company, they brought them on the table. And then the task of these people was only to work on this pathway and how they could achieve this climate target in the next 3 years and then in 10 years. So, and what I experienced then was that's quite interesting, that the mind shift suddenly changed. So even the critical ones, usually you always have people who are more critical, people who really think we should do something. But at that point, it was not longer about, should we do this? At this moment, it was only how we can do this. And then there was a lot of innovative thinking on the table, and I was very impressed. And I experienced this more than one time. And this showed me that this is really a way forward to bring people on the table and really to think about how it can be achieved, and not all these critical questions around if we should do something.
That's an interesting point, Andrea. So it means that on the one hand, yes, we talk about narratives. And narratives are the way we talk about things, the way that stand in the foreground. It's the stories of the future, the stories of how we want to live in future, the story of a world that shouldn't be a utopia. It should be a real world that we are aspiring to, and that is a regenerative world, that is an alive world, that is a world that works for 100% of humanity. However, what we also say is that once people start walking a path, then even those that may say, oh, this is all like dreams or unnecessary or not now, or, you know, kind of, we have all the different arguments, that they actually, I almost want to say, suddenly join in seeing that there is indeed a pathway to go, and that hits people in their, let's say, sometimes even personal ambition to say, oh, you know, maybe we can make a difference together. Would you agree on that it's also the not just the communicating about things, but the experience of doing things together for concrete targets that helps people into different narratives?
Yeah, I definitely would agree with this. And I also, I'm very much aligned with Kate Raworth, for example, on saying there is no such a person like a homo economic. we are not, yeah, we are human beings. We rely a lot on our emotions, and our behavior is driven by a lot of things. And money could be one aspect, but there are far more aspects, and also CEOs and the board of a company doesn't make decisions purely on economic aspects. Sometimes they pretend that they do this, but it's not reality. So I think the story behind is very important. Yeah.
So Melanie, would you have experienced the same if you look at your conventional banking sector or the alternative banking sector, that people actually in working together in doing something towards a different way of operating with money, actually, let's say, develop the narrative?
Yes, and I'm just thinking about staying with narratives and stories of that wonderful document of the World Economic Forum that said the impact investment is the next $1 trillion business. So you can also build stories on creating money in a better way, and still they put the money first. So in the conventional business and the alternative banking, there are always human beings, meaning they, if you speak to that little branch which is around your corner where you live near, I guess you're near Potsdam or something like that, the people in there will always look after you. They are human beings, and if you go in there in that little bank, they will work with you. But if you go on that higher level, you get lost in numbers, in different ways of working with each other, and you forget the relationships. So that narrative is different on where you look at. And I'm come back to Andrea. She spoke about people, profit, planet. I love that, because I define profit as money plus impact plus outreach. So in that point, if you then add purpose to that, we are perfectly fine. So in the world I'm in, my biggest hope is that I can shape the story about what is profit, what is money. And I guess that's not different if you speak to the person in a UBS, Deutsche Bank, or whatever kind of bank you have, or in that alternative bank. So it also depends on us. And I have one other point which I always mention. If you blame the banking sector, look where you have your account. So it's both sides. It's also us who have the accounts with those banks where we want to have more profit, which is nothing bad, but not the best solution.
That's a good encouragement for all of us. And also for Andrea, we are the consumers. We do have not all power, but quite a lot of power. And we can also influence narratives and influence stories and make a shift. So great. I thanks a lot, Melanie. Thanks a lot, Andrea. I really enjoyed this conversation, and it was really interesting also to maybe bring you even together, the two of you. So maybe there's a chance to get to know each other a little bit more. And with that, I would like to, thank you very much, and move on and say, can we now look at, what does it mean? What are narratives? What are narratives, and how important are they for you? And I would like to hand over at this point to my colleague, Dominic. And Dominic is I would say Dominic is a visionary American, half German, or a little bit German, but mostly American. And what I admire about Dominic, knowing him as a colleague, but also having experienced him in working with people, is the love that he brings in. And this is maybe a funny transition from the banking sector to love, but Melanie would probably also agree that love is what is needed in the banking sector. So what I admire about Dominic is really how you are committed to really bringing people together, and to bring something that is really a story of future possibilities. So I'm handing over to Dominic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Petra, Andrea, and Melanie. I really appreciate the conversation that we just listened to. Some of the things that I heard, Andrea asked the question, what does transformation mean? And then there were a number of different narratives. Are we getting behind a narrative of well-being for people and planet? Are we getting behind a narrative of financial growth? Or is it all about prosperity for all, about stewardship, life-serving economy, like Melanie was talking about, a world that works for 100% of humanity, in Petra's words. And then this really key pivot to, yes, narrative that's sufficiently inspiring for collective action. So where are we going? How are we getting there? Were questions that I heard. And this shift to action requiring not only a mindset shift at the personal level, but also this human dimension of change and relationship that's essential to move not only to action, but to collective action. But before I proceed, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm calling in from the ancestral lands of the Mohican Native Americans in what is today Massachusetts in the US. That's part of the narrative that I bring into this conference. And narratives are indeed powerful and serve the larger community of life, or sometimes seek to destroy it. We don't have to look beyond the news headlines from the past weeks, and today especially, to see how narratives play out in a really powerful and real way. This conference series, with its focus on narratives that are helping us work toward a vibrant, equitable, and regenerative world, a transformed world, is all the more relevant in this context where there's a competition with other narratives that seek to destroy. So we're asking the question, how can narratives of future possibilities become powerful enough to get us active, to collaborate, to drive transformative change together? All of us on this call, I see over 120 people in this conference right now. All of us are contributing in our own unique ways to sustainability narratives at multiple levels. Maybe it's the personal or family level. It might be organizational or working with a business. It might be at our town or city level, to country, to global systems. We'd like to hear from all of you. And so with just a little bit of support from my colleagues, I'm going to ask 2 questions of the group. And let me just share those questions here. We've prepared a poll for you, and we'll collect answers and then share those momentarily. So the poll has 2 questions. My colleague Teresa is going to paste this information into the text chat. Those of you on your smartphones can navigate to menti.com, and you see the code there for accessing these 2 questions. So what key elements make a future-oriented narrative enlivening to you? This idea of why do you get up in the morning that Petra was talking about? What is it that inspires you, that makes you feel alive, that makes you feel purposeful and like you're moving in a positive direction? In the survey, when you can click on the direct link in the text chat, you'll see 3 boxes. Please limit yourself to 1-word responses. You can have up to 3 responses. Please enter just 1 word per response, and we'll create a word cloud of your views. The second question that we're asking, and we're going to come back to this one at the end of the session to share these results, is action-oriented. How can we collectively contribute to justice, sustainability, and peace on planet Earth? This vision, this narrative that we so much want to realize, this story that we are telling together, how can we collectively contribute to that narrative, to that vision? In this case, you'll also see 3 boxes to respond. In this case, we think you'll need 3-word responses at least, but keep it to 3, please, to describe what actions you think are really needed. And we'll have a word cloud for you at the end of the session that is action-oriented. So if I may, let me continue on here, and then we'll come back to the results of that first question as they come in. Part of narrative, so narratives that we tell ourselves, these are our stories that help us understand where we come from, who we are, and where we're going. In this context, a shared vision is an essential part of an enlivening narrative. So what is a shared vision? It's really the unbridled description of the future that we deeply care about, that we really want to help realize together. Visioning is done without any limitations. So removing obstacles, removing limitations such as insufficient money or human resources or time. In visioning, we're asked to set those things aside and to think really deeply about that future we want to create together, that we really want for our community, for our country, for the globe. A shared vision can exist in text form or in visual form, and will embody the spirit and the core aspirations of the narrative, the sustainability narrative that we're weaving together. Sometimes a shared vision is created as a poster or a painting and has special potential to speak to our hearts, also on an emotional and human level, like our keynotes were just referencing. This, on that emotional level, some of our decisions are strongly influenced by emotion and can inspire collective action. At Collective Leadership Institute, our approach to guided visioning includes several elements. So we bring guided visioning into partnership processes, transformation processes, through which stakeholders are trying to bring about an important change that they care about. So what's essential is having a diverse and trusting core team of actors who are committed to one another and convinced that change is needed. The team should reflect the system at hand and have a good collective understanding of that context. That team needs to be willing to engage in visioning together, setting aside those obstacles I mentioned, thinking without limitation in order to co-create resonance or shared enthusiasm for the proposed transformation. At CLI, we find that using creative expression can really help enliven such a vision. The approach we use involves art, involves creativity. So there would be a guided visioning text that you get this diverse team together and read through a series of open-ended questions. People are seated, eyes closed, envisioning this future that they want. Once they have that vision for themselves, they have art supplies in front of them and they draw that vision and then share it with a partner next to them. In sharing with the partner, those partners notice what they have in common and bring those commonalities to their small group. And that group in turn creates a larger shared vision, again with art supplies, and shares that with the larger gathered core team. And what's worked really well for us is engaging an arts student to then be part of that process, but also to then synthesize the different visions that are produced by the smaller groups in this core team. And that vision, that poster or that painting, it can take many forms, and you can use that to attract new actors to your cause, inspire collective action, and communicate with the broader public in terms of what you're about. Now, visioning is an excellent start to any transformation process, but it's not the end. Visioning needs to be followed up with continual grounding in current realities and current challenges, setting goals together, doing the action planning, committing to the next steps that need to be taken, and engaging in those concrete initiatives that will lift the reality toward the vision, through collective action. Now, I'd like to pause here to hear from participants, and my colleague Andi, if you would kindly help share the results just to question 1 of our poll. Let's have a look here. So we had the question, what key elements make a future-oriented narrative enlivening to you? So look, you'll notice that some of the larger words were repeated more than once. And we see things like nature, love, hope, equity, all right in the middle there. We see equality, respect, and inclusion as well. There are many beautiful words here like community and diversity, prosperity and connection, compassion, service, peace. Thank you for these responses. Authenticity, connectedness, togetherness. This is a really beautiful answer from the group, these key elements that help make a narrative feel enlivening. Thank you, Andi, very much. Now, I'd like to make the shift to 2 specific cases that we'd like to share with you. And we have the immense privilege to introduce our friends and partners both in Mongolia and also in India and Bangladesh to share cases with you of value chains and work in value chains based on the visioning that I just described. I'd first like to introduce Ms. Tsetsgee Gavaa and also Ms. Undrakh Banzragch. They both work with the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, ADRA, in Mongolia. And my colleague, Sabina Heckman, and I had the privilege of visiting them in Ulaanbaatar in 2019, where we were met with incredible hospitality and conducted a 4-day workshop together that focused on multi-actor partnerships and visioning. Tsetsgee is the project manager for the Partnership for Organic Agriculture in Mongolia, with a focus on Selenge province, the real breadbasket province for the country. And her colleague Undrakh is the multi-actor partnership and participatory guarantee system officer for the same project. They're going to go into a little bit more detail and share the story of the work, the inspiring work that they're doing in Mongolia. Undrakh, I would welcome you to share your slides, and Tsetsgee, the floor is yours. If you could please use the presentation view. There we go. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dominic. Okay, hello everyone, and I'm Tsetsgee. I'm a partnership for organic agriculture project of ADRA, manager of the project. I'm from ADRA, Mongolia. And today my colleague Undrakh and I will share about our map story in organic agriculture in Mongolia. Okay. Oh, no. moving. Dominic?
Tsetsgee, if the slides aren't working, perhaps Undrakh, you would be willing to share?
Sorry, my slide is not moving. Sorry.
I can't share it because Tsetsgee, can you please stop share?
Okay. Yep. Okay.
All right, just bear with us and we'll give this a try. Thank you, Undrakh.
This was okay.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We also would like we would like to share about our briefly about our project, and also we will share about our shared vision and container for change and map architecture, and also we will share about our results of collaboration, and also we will share a little bit about our future plan. Okay. Next. And ADRA Mongolia is implementing partnership for organic agriculture project in Selenge province. As Dominic before mentioned, Selenge, it's located in the central northern part of Mongolia. It's a breadbasket area of Mongolia. And our project started in 2018. It's a 4-year project. It's funded by BMZ and ADRA Germany. And currently we are working with 900 members of the primary cooperatives, and also we work with the cooperative union. Cooperative union, it's an umbrella organization for who supports primary cooperatives, and of course our direct beneficiaries of this project is it's the total population of the Selenge province. And the main goal of our project is to improve the livelihood of small-scale farmers in Selenge province through using a map approach in organic agriculture value chain. Next. Undrakh, next, please. Okay, the methodology of our project is we use the multi-map approach in our project, and map approach is very important to promote and advocate a supportive legal, policy, and practical environment for partnering or with the public, civil society, and research organizations. And also, map approach is important to achieve an efficient dialogue among Selenge farmers and collaboration along with the value chain in Mongolia. And I would like simply map is an approach that partners from different social groups work together for their jointly developed common goals and take actions to achieve higher impact. And this is the picture of the dialect change model, and the dialect change model leads us managing the collaborative process and building trust between different stakeholders. And also the dialect change model leads us to have a constructive cooperation, and the collective also it leads us to have a collective responsibility for changes. And of course, the dialect change model has the 4 phases. We have already gone through the phases. Now we have been to exploring and engaging phases. Then we shift to building and formalization phases. Now we are at the implementing and evaluation phase. Thank you. And our main partners and collaborators are of course, the small-scale farmers of the 30 primary cooperatives in Selenge province. And also we work closely with cooperative union. And of course, we have been collaborating with the private actors of certification organization and companies, And also we work organic producers and importers. And also we work with the traditional IT company, which is working on creating organic online system, public organic online system in Mongolia. And also we have been collaborating with the civil society organizations like National Association of Agricultural Cooperatives and its branch in Selenge province. And also we work with the National Consumer Protection Association and its branch in Sabrin. And we closely work with the Mongolian Chamber of Commerce and Mongolian Productivity Organization also. Of course, we work with the public sectors. We work with the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and Light Industry in Mongolia. Also, we work with the Governor's Office of Selenge Province, and also we have been collaborating with international organizations and projects which are implementing projects in Mongolia. And also we work with we have been working with the research organizations, and for example, we have been collaborating with Institute of Plant and Agriculture Sciences, and also cooperative and governance, and also we work with the consultants who gave consultation for us on the cooperative governance and organic agriculture and PGS. And in this picture, you can see our shared vision, and all the mentioned stakeholders before, and all mentioned stakeholders co-created this vision. It has sense of ownership of all our stakeholders, and we jointly created this vision in 2019, just after our project started. And you can see that the farmers will start organic production, and also the civil society organization and also consumers parts also will involve in the certification processes. Then the organic products will be packaged and will be evaluated, and they will be organic products also will be supplied to domestic market. And also we also have a little bit ambitious. Later also we would like to import organic products. And you can see in the picture some people in our traditional tent. Also, this is our map, our stakeholders, our map, and the stakeholders talking and discussing. They have a meeting and discussion about how they can improve the organic agriculture, and also how they can develop the organic agriculture and PGS and organic value chain in Mongolia. And our project main activities, firstly, we focus on developing organic agriculture and increasing its production. Also, we work how we can create participatory grantee system to certify the organic production. And also we focus on producing value-added organic products, and also how to link the organic products to the market. And one of the feature of our project is we work with the cooperatives, and also we really focus on to build the cooperative internal governance and management. This is the main project area. And okay, in our map, there are 3 levels. First is the local map structure, and the local farmers, primary cooperatives and cooperative union, and PGS organization and local government also involved in the local map structure. They also focus, they also try to create PGS organization and its network, and also they try to build the cooperative capacity and governance, and also they also focus on to develop the value chain development in its local area. And also we have the regional map structure and a cooperative union and Selenge organic PGS organization, and also marketing council, PGS and marketing council, and Selenge province government, and also research organizations, and also local civil society organizations. They also involved in the regional map structure. They focus on to build the capacity to establish and build the PGS organization and its network, and also develop value chain in Selenge province. And also we have a national map structure, and the Ministry of Food and Light Industry of Mongolia, and National Agricultural Cooperatives Association, and Consumer Protection Association, and Certification Organization, organic producers, companies, importers, and Plant Protection Institute also. And also consultants, experts also join in national map structure. They but all of them, they focus on to build supportive legal policy and practical environment for organic development. And in order to facilitate improved partnerships for organic agriculture, PGS and cooperative development, we established the co-container. The ADRA project team, cooperative union, and NAMEC are the members of the co-container. And also jointly, the co-container, it's a main part, and ADRA also it's a plays a backbone role for this co-container. And the co-container also, the main containers also focus on building more broader container. And we also developed our clarified common goal, and also we identified our resources, and the co-container, co-group reflect together. We discuss and address the challenges, and also we take action together, and we also helped to establish the PGS organization, and then also we invited many stakeholders in our discussion, face-to-face meetings, online meetings, forums, and in our all interventions. Then we really wanted to make our container bigger and bigger, and to involve more stakeholders. And you have seen our process architecture, and we also we also conducted different activities. We also organized workshops, training, consultative meetings with the consultative meetings, and then we also try to increase the number of the stakeholders, and as a result of these interventions, also the stakeholders really defined their vision, and they really understood their role and responsibilities, and also they reached out their common goal. And to promote supportive legal policy and practical environment for organic agriculture at the regional level, also we also conducted different interventions, and our stakeholders became more active. And I also would like to say that one of the weakest part of our map is we also have to, in the coming months, we also have to pay our attention. We have to focus on to have a good support in the policy level, and also we will have some lobby meetings. We would like to organize kind of meetings, and also we would like to have our lobby groups in the parliament in high political level. Mm-hmm. And as a result of our collaboration, we also we also organized local and national organic forums, and also all actors in organic value chain. They agreed to sign an MOU to develop organic agriculture, PGS, and value chain in Mongolia. Mm-hmm. And okay, we also, you can see that we have conducted many trainings and consultative meetings and discussions and forums. And of course, we also organize different workshops about value chain and PGS and organic marketing and value chain. Mm-hmm. And also jointly with all our MAP stakeholders, we are jointly organized national and local organic forum. Mm-hmm. And I just would like to mention some results of our collaboration. At the policy level also, we all our organic stakeholders, including public civil society actors and organic producers and certification organizations at the national level, all of them agreed to sign MOU to develop organic agriculture and value chain in Mongolia. And also at the local level, also we would like to make a partnership agreement with us, between Selenge government and Selenge organic farmers and Selenge civil society organization and scientific institute and for development of organic agriculture in Selenge province. And also we amended the state organic registration system to make it more easy and friendly to our organic farmers. And also as a result of our partnership, also recently the Ministry of Agriculture also developed a draft regulation on state support to organic producers was developed, and we had first discussion on that. In the coming months, also we are planning to finalize this regulation, and we also would like to organize some open discussion and meetings and public hearings with all the stakeholders. And we also will send our inputs to Ministry of Agriculture, and this draft will be finalized in July of this year. And also jointly with all our stakeholders, we initiated to have initiated government award for the best organic producers of the year. And also the local government has also they willing to allocate land to our organic farmers. Mm-hmm. In the implementation level also, our MAP stakeholders learned how to organize national local organic forum together, and also all the stakeholders started to organize organic day during the autumn organic days. And Organic Day, it's a kind of public awareness event, and yeah, so we organized this event almost 3 times once each year, and we organized 3 times. And also we developed PGS and organic traceability documents together. And also our MAP stakeholders learned how to conduct water and soil analysis in a collaborative and coordinated way. All our stakeholders, we established 15 PGS network organization at the regional level, and we learned how to certify organics together with the research institute and local agricultural specialists, and they jointly also conduct the PGS internal inspection. And also we established the PGS and Marketing Council, and also we are promoting to develop Selenge organic brand, because our small scale farmers, they have a small land and they have production volume is not so high. So we unified and encouraged them under Selenge organic brand. And our Selenge farmers got Best Organic Producers Award in 2021, and our main partner cooperative union got the Best Cooperative Award in 2021.
Tsetsgee, about 1 minute, please. Can you wrap up then?
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So you can see our organic farmers and organic beekeepers. Next slide. Please, next. And currently our organic farmers, they produce value-added organic products. In future, also we are planning at the national level. Also, we're planning to sign a public-private partnership agreement. And also at the national level, also we will focus on increasing awareness-raising activities about organic. And of course, we need to institutionalize and also institutionalize this structure, and also to ensure the sustainability. Also, we have to focus on. And at the regional level, also, we also will make a MOU with the local government, and also we also will make an agreement with local MOU with local farmers, and also local government also will make an MOU. And at the local level also, we need to support the cooperative union and also Selenge Organic PGS organization and also Marketing Council. Still, they need the capacity. In the end of the project, also the sale of the organic products will be increased, and also capacity of the farmers and PGS organization will be improved, and income of the small farmers will be increased too. And using this opportunity, I would like to say thank you for CLI Institute colleague, and especially for Dominic who provides us ongoing valuable consultation and guiding us. Thank you very much.
Fabulous, Tsetsgee. Thanks to you and to Undrakh for having prepared and offered us that really excellent presentation. I was following with interest. You've come so far over the past 3 years, and I know that you still have additional aspirations moving forward. I appreciate it's very late for the two of you that you're still here with us and looking sharp. We have time for about 3 questions, and I've collected them from the text chat. I'm going to paraphrase from David. David was wondering if you drew inspiration for your work on organic agriculture also from other countries around the world. So you had a visioning process in Mongolia itself. Were you also looking to other countries for inspiration in your work?
Yes, sure, because we are just starting organic agriculture and just also trying this participator guarantee system and value chain for organics in Mongolia. So we looked at Indian, Korean, and other value chain, organics value chain examples to like have this vision and vision and to have some benchmark and inspiration from other countries' best experiences.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Can Undrakh, a follow-up question, can you tell the audience just a little bit more about the participatory guarantee system?
This is the community-based participatory guarantee system that is very suitable for small-scale farmers, especially agricultural farmers. So it's a low cost, less bureaucracy, and consumers and producers, civil society, and the government all together participate to guarantee the quality of the organics.
Thank you very much. A question from Mara. She's wondering at which points in the process was it important for you to bring in your vision, to bring in powerful narratives? This story that you're telling, this is the first time organic agriculture is being developed in Mongolia. At what moments in the process was it important to tell that story and to bring in your vision?
Mm-hmm. Tsetsgee, do you want to answer? Respond? Okay, we actually at the beginning it was not easy for us to have the common vision. So we actually, the vision picture of us is quite very simple. But now we have more comprehensive map structures at national, local, and regional levels. But it was good at the beginning, but it was not only the one-time shot to do the visioning wing, but the vision has been developing over time with our experience, with also people when farmers started to understand the organics, its value, and their also mindset we're changing. So we together developing the vision is also very dynamic. It was quite dynamic. It can't be defined at a particular stage.
Thank you. I noticed that on one of your slides, you talked about the vision also being slightly different at different levels, at different parts along the value chain. And I imagine adding stakeholders as your collaboration grew also included integrating their visions, their perspectives. Is that a fair assumption?
Sure.
Yeah, excellent. We have one more question and then we'll go to our second case from India and Bangladesh. This question on organic farming. So we're talking about narrative in this session, and the narrative of conventional farming is it's okay to put pesticides on the land. There are some externalities, some costs to that, but the narrative is around increasing production, more or less. The narrative around organic farming is different. You've mentioned the word quality as well as part of that. The question was, how is organic farming in Mongolia truly transformative? How is it contributing to a sustainable future for all?
So the project started in 2018. Since then, more than 3 years have passed. So at the beginning, there were no officially registered, according to the Organic Food Law of Mongolia, any producers. But now, for the Selenge province, there are more than 300 farmers were officially registered in the government organic system. And there, the mindset has been changing during these 3 years. So with their mindset and with our also advocacy and with other stakeholders, the because of there are a lot of many small scale farmers are shifting to organics, the Selenge government, they're also kind of political will is changing together with that. And then there is like the resonance at the local, regional and levels. At the national level, there is also kind of the better understanding and better, for instance, the ministry wants to do more support for the farmers. So they are like very much supporting the draft regulation, government support to organic producers. So it's a kind of very dynamic and very interlinked process for that we're changing the everything like the business and the mindset and the practices as well as the policy.
Thank you.
When we started our project also in organic value chain also, for example, there is no one who can supply us the organic fertilizer. But now we have been collaborating with the free companies which can supply us the organic fertilizer. For instance, the Mom Pellets company is producing sheep wool. They use sheep wool and produce organic fertilizer. They are supplying it to our farmers. We have a collaboration with other stakeholders in our value chain, and someone, for example, Mongolia projects also they can provide us the organic seed. We have organic fertilizer producing companies, and also we're working in a value chain with many stakeholders. The number of the organic producers are increasing day by day.
Okay, fabulous. Tsetsgee and Undrakh, a huge round of applause to both of you for your work with your teams and with your stakeholder system there in Mongolia. Have a look at the text chat there. People are really encouraged, quite inspired, congratulating your efforts. So feel supported from all of us around the world and carry on. Thanks very, very kindly.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. It's my privilege now to introduce two more individuals who have an inspiring story to tell us from both the Indian and the Bangladesh side of the Sundarban mangrove forest. In 2020, I had the opportunity to go both to Kolkata, India, and then to Khulna, Bangladesh, and to work with Dr. Nimai, Bera, Sabrin, Ahmed, Roty, and their respective teams at the Nature, Environment and Wildlife Society of India. That's where Nimai is based. And also at the Bangladesh Environment and Development Society, where Sabrin is based. These two nonprofit organizations, NGOs, were collaborating with the Global Nature Fund and also with Naturland on a project that focuses on sustainable aquaculture in a mangrove setting. They're going to tell us more about that in just a moment. And like Mongolia, I was met with incredible hospitality in both India and Bangladesh, for which I'm immensely grateful. And in the 2 years since I was there, the teams have really not only done incredible work in India and Bangladesh, but also inspired one another and supported one another moving forward. So I would introduce Dr. Nimai Bera, who's Sustainable Aquaculture and Mangrove Ecosystems Project Manager at NEWS, the Nature and Environment and Wildlife Society. And also Ms. Sabrin Ahmed Roty, who's at the Bangladesh Environment and Development Society. She is Communications Officer in the same program, Sustainable Aquaculture and Mangrove Ecosystems. So Sabrin, I would invite you to share your slides. We have about 15 minutes for your input. We'll have 5 minutes Q&A and then move into a wrap up of this conference session. The floor is yours.
Sharing my screen. Can you see it?
Yes, please use the presentation view.
Okay, yeah. Hello, this is Sabrin from Bangladesh. Today I'm going to present our SAIME project. That means Sustainable Aquaculture in Ecosystem in the Sundarbans of India and Bangladesh, with my partner Nimai Bera from India. Basically, it's a transboundary project and it is implemented by Nature, Environment and Wildlife Society News and Bangladesh Environment and Development Society pairs, and with the cooperation of Global Nature Fund and Naturland. Basically, mangroves are one of the most important and productive ecosystem among the tropical forest in the world. The mangrove ecosystems are the most important because they store carbon more than any other plants in the world. They are in the rank 1 for storing the carbon, and they are the mangroves are the nurseries of countless fishes and hotspot of biodiversity, and protect the coastal people from several natural disasters by reducing their intensity. But uh, but for last few decades, the mangrove coverage has been reducing day by day. Since 1980, almost 20% of the mangrove from the world has been decreased. One of the major reason is the expansion of shrimp aquaculture, especially in South and Southeast Asia. And another problem is the unsatisfied demand of shrimp larvae. There is the demand is very high, but there is no such larva. For this reason, the farmers go to the forest to collect the larva, and at the moment they destroy the habitat of thousands aquatic flora and fauna. And another problem is the presence of middlemen, which hinders the farmer to get the proper value. For this reason, integrated mangrove aquaculture has been introducing which promotes organic aquaculture practice in mangrove ecosystem, which is a nature-based solution to our developed challenge. Our overall project goal is to have a functioning multi-stakeholder partnership that promotes the sustainable mangrove and special protection to the mangroves through considered dialogue structure and protection along the value chain of shrimp aquaculture, and secures the livelihood of collectors, fishermen, and farmers in India and Bangladesh. It's a project of 45 months. It has started from 1st August 2019 and it will end 30 April 2030. Now I will present our SAIME project in Bangladesh. Basically, we have got our 3 working groups with the help of Dominic in our visioning and engagement workshop. In the mangrove working group, there are the officers from Mangrove and Silviculture Research Institute from Bangladesh, and also the officers from Forest Department. There is also the mangrove researchers and environmental activists. And in the value chain working group, there are officers from fisheries, there are representatives from farmers, civil society, and development activities. In the livelihood working group, there are researchers from Shrimp Research Institute, Bangladesh, and there are officers from Department of Fisheries of Bangladesh, and there are representatives of civil society and development activists. Here is the our visioning poster, which was developed in our visioning and missioning workshop in 2020. Our vision is to have healthy mangroves, thriving coastal communities, and robust aquaculture value chain in the Sundarbans. In the picture, on the left side, you can see the mangrove forest, the farms with the large mangroves, and the better livelihood opportunities for the local people. Here, I would like to share our process architect through which we are moving toward our desired vision. Basically, at first, we have done the stakeholder mapping and then invited our possible selected stakeholders, and then we we done several meetings among themselves to communicate with each other. After that, in the visioning and engagement workshop, we have got our 3 working group members, 3 working groups, and after that their communication and their relationship is become strengthened day by day with their regular meeting and the social media. After that, we have also communicated our working group members with our farmers. I'm a farmer target group. For this reason, the working group members have started communicating with our farmers, and they have understand the scenario of the local people. And after that, they take decisions after jointly, and then as a backbone of organization, secretariat bears bears implement the activities according to the decision in the field. Now, in the picture, you can see some snaps of our meeting with our working group members. Even we have virtual meetings in COVID-19. There are some major ideas of the working groups. Here, I would like to focus on their decision of mangrove their decision and their initiatives of mangrove nursery establishment, which is women led. Basically, I would like to present the discussion table here. You know, the mangrove working group said for the successful mangrove conservation, we have to have mangrove saplings, and local people have to participate in the mangrove conservation activities. And then the livelihood working group said that if you want the participation of the local people, then you have to ensure the livelihood opportunities, because the people adjacent to Sundarbans most of the people live below the poverty line, and they struggle for a single moment for the livelihood. And then the value chain working group said that there must have a proper value chain of each of their product which they developed. So according to their decisions, we have decided to have a community-based mangrove nurseries, which will be led by our coastal women, and there should have proper value chain to sell the products. Now, in the first slide, you can see that we have arranged a training on mangrove nurseries to our selected 5 women and their families. And our working group member, mangrove experts, Mr. Hilal, was the trainer of the training program, and according to the training program, the 5 women have already started preparing the soil and raising mangrove saplings in their field. You know, mangroves are very sensitive. Mangroves have very high mortality rate. So according to the decisions of our mangrove working group members, we have supported fencing and water system in the mangrove nurseries, and we have also fenced the nurseries with nets for the protection of the mangrove nurseries. And in the pictures below, you can see that the mangrove nurseries, there is 5 mangrove nurseries were established in 2020 with the local 5 coastal women, and they established the mangrove nurseries in their own land. So at first in 2020, there was only they produces 1 lakh mangrove saplings, and the selling was just started. The value chain group was promoting the mangrove nurseries. They are publishing the mangrove nursery, and they are creating a channel for selling the mangrove products for this reason. And after day by day in 2020, the mangrove nursery owners have earned around 3,500 euro, which was beyond the imagination of this woman. It was really impossible for them to earn such amount of money from these mangrove nurseries. People used to mock them to have the mangrove nurseries. But after the achievement, more people are motivated to establish mangrove nurseries in their own area. And after that, the mangrove nursery owners have started investing their money like the purchasing of poly bags, cow dung, fencing by themselves to make the mangrove nursery perfect. to have more mangrove saplings so that they can earn more from the mangrove nurseries. You know, the mangrove nurseries are happy, and our working group members, mangrove working group members, value chain working group members, and also the livelihood working group members are really success with their decision. Now our honored aspiration. We have 5 little mangrove nurseries in different places, but they have no such big capacity. So we want to establish a mangrove nursery in large scale. At least there will be 1 lakh mangrove saplings at a time. And we also want to create a proper marketing channel for the mangrove saplings so that the farmers can easily sell the saplings, and we have to create a proper marketing transportation facilities in different places of Bangladesh with the collaboration of government. Thanks to all. Now I would like to give this floor to our partner Nimai.
Thank you, Sabrin. First of all, I want to give thanks to Dominic and also Sabrin. Dear all, now I will be continuing the achievements of the SAIME projects from India. Sabrin, next please. The actors of this SAIME project, the actors involved in the core groups are from different sectors like various government departments and various research and academic institutes, policy institutes, different civil society organizations, exporters, coastal communities, and IMA farmers. Here you can see the list of the actors, and the actors are working in the workshop. Next, please. In India, during February 2020, a visioning and engagement workshop was held. In the workshop, the stakeholders from different sectors were engaged in a participatory and creative visioning process for healthy mangroves, thriving coastal communities, and a robust aquaculture value chain in the transboundary Sundarbans. Here in the vision poster, you can see the IMA farms, also the Indo-Bangla organic 2030 and organic products. This is prepared in the workshop. Next, please. Now, this is a diagram depicting the process of collaboration towards our vision. In the diagram, you can see, first of all, we have identified the key stakeholders and communicated with them for visioning and engagement workshop. Then the workshop was organized, and a common understanding on key challenges and opportunities for collaboration was built. Then 3 action-oriented core groups are formed. The 3 core groups are Mangrove Working Group, Livelihoods Working Group, and Value Chain Working Group. Then in each group, the goals are identified by the stakeholders and the resources are committed in each group. Jointly agreed implementation plan was also prepared by the stakeholders in each group. Then the stakeholders agreed to allocate the responsibilities and regular interval dialogue events, meeting of each working groups conducted, and also engagement of new stakeholders was found in the meeting. And last of all, finally, the implementation of pilot level integrated mangrove aquaculture practice. Next one, please. Now the achievements for each working group, we have showing the achievements of the groups. Now in mangrove working group, convergence with Panchayat and Rural Development Department regarding mangrove restoration in Indian Sundarbans. Next, please. Now, an important achievement in respect of the concrete action plan of the mangrove working group, a convergence with for mangrove restoration through nursery development, mangrove plantation, and monitoring has been done in collaboration with the government of West Bengal through the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, that is NGNREGS, which is the largest employment guarantee program of India. News capacitated through this program near more than 1,200 persons of 10 blocks of the district South 24 Parganas of West Bengal including women. And also for mangrove monitoring, one Android-based application, the name is Mangrove Watch, has been developed by News. And also a mangrove manual has been published as a field guidebook indicating the concerned stakeholders. Here you can see in the photograph the different activities of this achievement of this working group. Next one, please. Now, achievement from livelihood working group, which is the implementation of IMA, that is integrated mangrove aquaculture process, a climate adaptive ecosystem based practice through formation of farmers groups. Next, please. And now, as a defined project activity, the integrated mangrove aquaculture IMA was implemented as pilot scale in 20 hectares of farm area, including 25 farmers at 2 sites. The farmers adopted the practice and planted mangroves with 5 to 30% of mangrove coverage of their total farm area. And after the implementation, the farmers are also interested to adopt this ecosystem-based climate adaptive approach, and nearby farmers also are interested for this IMA technology to adopt. Here you can see the different activities during the implementation of IMA in IMA process, from farmer selection to the sale to the local aggregator. Next one, please. Now, achievement of the value chain working group, linking with community governed value chain. Next, please. Now, as a defined project activity for forming a structured value chain, the IMA farmers groups from the IMA sites have been linked with the BFPCL, which is a Badabon Farmers Producer Company Limited. This BFPCL is a farmers producers company found by the farmers of Sundarban, Indian Sundarban, under the patronization of News. The farmers sold their organically produced black tiger shrimp and other shrimps and fishes and fin fishes to the BFPCL instead of local market, with a 10% of higher profit realization than the local market, and also reducing the number of middlemen for better price realization. And we can see that this was a step forward for the formation of a community governed value chain organizational setup for higher price realization. Here you can see the activities photographs of this achievement from harvesting to the sale to the customer of the shrimps and fishes. Next one, please. Now, in respect of the project objectives and visioning and engagement workshop, which was held in 2020, we have aspirations for the future, which are the restored mangroves, mangrove ecosystems, and its services, leading to develop a thriving coastal community in Indian Sundarban in the context of climate change induced sea level rise. And also another aspiration, enhance livelihood security in a climate adaptive approach, resulting in emergence of an ecosystem-based model. And another important aspiration is community governed value chain system is in place through community institutional setup, aiming to expand national to international level through multi-stakeholder partnership. And next, that's all. Thank you very much for your patience. And also, we want to give thanks to Dominic for guiding for this presentation and giving the opportunities for both of us. And thank you.
Nimai and Sabrin, that's very generous of you. I'm glad for the appreciation, but it's really about your teams and the actors there on the ground that made this work toward your visions real. So thanks to both of you and the excellent work that you've been doing. We have time for just a couple of questions, and I see two in the text chat. People feel that your story is inspiring in India and Bangladesh. The work you're doing, you're inspiring others. And the question from Bera was, what inspired you to do this work across a border, across a national border? You're collaborating in your respective contexts, but also the Sundarban or a transboundary mangrove. What inspired your work?
First of all, before implementing the project, the communities were unknown and were ignoring the mangrove conservation. Now, as Sabrin explained in her first slide, that the importance of mangrove. So, mangrove restoration is one of the important part of the Sundarban community. The community also realize now that mangrove is one of the important part of their farm, also of the environment, also of their ecosystem. So this is one of the important inspiration for us, I think.
Sabrin, do you care to add anything?
Yes, basically there is only one Sundarban in India and Bangladesh. So the community, coastal community of the Sundarbans area, we are working for the conservation of Sundarbans from Bangladesh, and also other organizations from India are working for the conservation of Bangladesh. Even though we are working for the MSP, our project is basically MSP project. So in this project, we are combining several work actors. So why don't we? We are the biggest actors, which can collaborate others actors. So it's really inspired a lot to work with the adjacent peoples of Sundarbans, our neighbors.
Fantastic. I also had the privilege of being able to visit the Sundarban and with you and the communities that are living there. I found that especially inspiring to see whole families living in community with one another, also benefiting from the good work that you do and helping to inform the good work that you do as well. We're really grateful to have had this exchange with you and feel inspired. You can also check the text chat. There's lots of applause in the text chat for your effort. So please extend our greetings to your respective teams and carry on the excellent work that you're doing there. Many, many thanks, Nimai and Sabrin.
Thank you, Dominic.
Thank you.
And
Thank you all for your great
to
comments.
CLI for giving the opportunities to show our project, our activities. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. I promised to come back to the second Mentimeter question. I'd like to share those results now, because just like our case contributors, we are moving toward collective action. So narratives are inspiring stories about who we are and where we want to go together. And so how do we achieve that collectively? In the text chat, you'll see that second question that we asked about how can we collectively contribute to justice, sustainability, and peace on planet Earth. And here are your responses. This time there are many action-oriented sentiments on this screen. Some of them are highlighted. Things like dialogue come across right in the middle, acting with compassion and love and empathy, humility, acting with respect for the environment. Collectively, we need to have a sense of awareness and solidarity, listening well to one another, working toward regenerative systems. So taking this positive approach, I see things like building networks, drawing on science and innovation, acting from a place of gratitude, being curious about one another, drawing out the best in one another. Again, a beautiful set of actions that I hope continue to inspire all conference participants today. Let's know that we're not alone in this work that we get to do. We have inspiring stories from the banking sector, from Mongolia, from India, Bangladesh, from the work that all of you are doing in your corners of the world. We're deeply appreciative for what you do. And moving toward wrapping up the conference, we want to offer a link in the text chat for you to a free and open access publication from the Collective Leadership Institute called Leading Transformative Change Collectively. And this book, the methodology that underpins the stories that you've heard today is described in more detail in the book. The cases that you heard about today are also present in that book. So have a look alongside many other cases of moving forward sustainability on planet Earth. The other link that you'll find in the text chat is for our certification program to become a collective leadership specialist. The Leading Transformative Change Collectively book underpins that certification program. So we have over 5,000 alumni around the world from our different workshops, and over 300 of them have already completed our certification program. That's just over the last few years. That network of specialists is forming a community of practice. So for further exchange and engagement and learning around transformation topics. So you're welcome to learn more using the links there. Again, thanks to everyone, to our case contributors, Tsetsgee and Undrakh, to Nimai, to Sabrin, and Petra, I'll give you the floor to thank our keynote speakers.
Thank you so much, Dominic, and thanks to the contributors. This is really, really interesting because the issue is really about how to connect the big issues that we're discussing on the global level, also in the Club of Rome, with what is happening where people actually work concretely on the transformative change, because this is where transformations happen. So, and I'm not saying anything is more important or less important, but I think it's extremely important to look at the different levels and what we do in different actors. So for the next session, next Thursday, same time, we are going to look at the topic of structures, or the transformation enabler of structures. Here we look, of course, at power structures and what they mean, but we will focus on the session particularly on the question, how do we create collective leadership? For how do we lead that collectively? What are the engagement structures that we need? What are the partnerships we need? And we will have two people from the corporate world, one from Tata, where Tata, you probably all know, one of the biggest corporations in the world, and looking at what is happening there, and particularly what is happening regarding partnerships. And we will have somebody from a chemical company on the route to circular economy. And so probably not too many people think that companies actually can go on the route to circular economy, but we will talk about these efforts. And then we will have examples, also fascinating example from Egypt, from a regulator, an electricity regulator, and what does it actually mean to create a collective CO2 approach, if you're a regulator. And we'll have a completely different example from Tunisia, from a youth network, where it is about influencing policy development from the side of young people. And we'll see, how this really works. So we're excited about you joining us all for the next session. I'm just thanking again Andrea and Melanie for the keynote conversation, and I thank Dominic. And thanks to all participants around the world. We're excited to have you back next week, same time, similar conference, different topic. Thank you very much.